I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. In this video, I'm going to show you an amazing sealing technique. We use it for working in copper. We use it for sealing in an oxidized finish. We use it for sealing up the 24 karat gold powder. It's a really easy method to make sure your finish stays the way you want it to look.
So everybody, I just wanted to show you something that I've had a few questions about, including on Dr. Goldsmith. You know, when you're working in copper, right? Although there is copper solder, it really doesn't work very well. It doesn't flow very nicely, whatever. So normally what we tell people is just use silver solder. It flows beautifully. And then you're like, yeah, but then the color's different. So all we did is we just copper plated this when we were done. You know, those of you who granulate know about copper plating because that's a process that we use. Those of you who have inadvertently stuck your steel tweezers in the pickle also know what copper plating is. Basically, you've got the solution. It works like a battery. You've got an acid solution. It's got copper in there. You stick the steel in, the copper in the solution starts plating onto the piece. But you can actually use that in a case like this because that's what we did. And you notice the seam looks nice and coppery and beautiful and it blends in. So it's really like an easy kind of workaround for the whole issue because I have certainly never in my whole life seen copper solder that works well. So, but then of course the question becomes, if it's only plated on there, it's going to wear off. And anything with a ring, to be honest, it wears off pretty easily. So we'll use something like this when we're doing patinas. We'll use this stuff right here. You can take a look. Basically, it's a sprayable lacquer. It's meant to be used on like artwork, really, you know, like paintings and stuff like that as a sealant. So we use this on pieces like this where like it's copper plated. We want to protect it. Also on pieces that are copper that you just don't want it to change because you know how you wear copper and it gets bluey green, which may be beautiful, but it might not be depending on what you're doing. Pieces that we were going to like oxidize things and you want that oxidation again to kind of like be locked in and not get worn off. You know, we could use it on any of the pieces that you're using that 24 karat gold powder and it's a little like you feel like, oh no, it might get worn off or whatever, you can use this to spray and seal it. So basically, I just wanted to tell you about it. And then I'm not going to do this inside because I need every IQ point that I've managed to scrape together. It doesn't smell good. But since we're here in the studio in Manhattan, we're going to go out what we consider our back porch, which is the fire escape. We're going to put it like in a little box, you know what I mean? And we're going to spray it in there. Anytime we've used this, it dries pretty quick. We usually let it sit there for like, 10 minutes and then turned it over and sprayed it again and let it sit for another 10 minutes and then it's dry and you can wear it. Now, it's a spray. It isn't going to last like forever and ever, but it holds up really pretty darn well. And you could always redo it. Like if you wore it for a couple years and then we're like, oh shit, it's kind of wearing off, whatever, you could always freshen it up and then spray it again. So we're going to go out to our version of the back porch so that we don't all get brain damage and we'll do it together. So here we are on our beautiful back porch. What an inspiring view. Look at that. I mean, come on. Why do people live anywhere but New York City? I just don't understand it. Okay, so I have the box. They're just laying right there. And obviously I'm just putting it in something that I can throw away. Like so. And then for any of you who have not used an aerosol spray, you gotta, shake it up. And then you usually hold it about 10 to 12 inches away from the piece because you're not trying to get in super close and get like a weird, gross coating. What you're trying to do is get like a nice light coat. So, whee! That's just to make sure everyone out there is paying attention. Ta-da! So I'm going to let that dry for like 10 minutes. I'm going to pick it up in my tweezers. I'm going to flip it over and we'll spray the other side. So it's not really hard to do. If I haven't emphasized it 5 or 6 times already, please don't do this inside. It will probably give you brain damage. But this method works really great. This stuff is not very expensive. I'm sure there's multiple brands of clear lacquer that they use for sealing up paintings. This is the one that we happen to use. It really works great. So I'll show you at the end. So I just wanted to show off. These are the beautiful rings that Vera made. We sprayed them on the one side. We let them dry for 10 minutes. We sprayed them on the other side. We let them dry for 10 minutes. And then there they are. You see how nice they look. I can tell that they're dry because I sniffed them and I did not want to die. So when the smell goes away, you can safely assume like I can wear it. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, when they're wet, they smell absolutely terrible. I'm sure I've mentioned that a few times in this video. Please don't give yourself brain damage. Do it outside and don't like, I lightly sniffed. So you see how beautiful they look, right? And Vera, who's like super helpful for us here, she just so happens to have another copper piece that she soldered, as you see, with silver solder, because silver solder is just the most cooperative one. And I thought it was great. I was like, oh, fantastic. Let us film it because we didn't film the copper plating before. So what we have here is this is just a little pickle out of, any used pickle that you're using will have this lovely blue-green color because that's copper that's dissolved in there. Things get oxidized. You put them in there, it strips it off, and that's why it's like this. The only way that your pickle wouldn't work is if your pickle was brand new and totally clear, in which case I would just heat up a couple of pieces of copper and throw it in there. There's your color. It's all good. So we just took it and put it in a little Pyrex dish so we could see what we're doing. Any kind of steel will work, but I do find that skanky is better. Very new shiny tweezers sometimes actually have a coating on them. So I tend to look for the skankiest, rustiest kind of a thing, that's going on. Something happening. So as you see, skanky tweezers. If all your tweezers are really beautiful and new, you could always take the skankiest one and stick them in a bowl of water overnight, and magically you will have skanky tweezers. So just so you know, it doesn't have to be tweezers either. It could be any kind of steel. But what we're going to do, so this works, we were talking about before, it's literally like a battery. You have an acid, or having something plated. Acid solution, when you put the steel in there, it creates a mild plating reaction. Little mild electrical charge, whatever metal is in the solution plates onto this. So I'm going to put this in here. Amy's going to get in here close so that hopefully you can see, right? And if I take my tweezers and I kind of touch the area like so, you notice how things start to look, they start to look coppery. Flip it around. So this is one of those things. It's super easy to do. If you've got pickle and you've got some skanky steel, you can do this. So you see how I'm just going around and kind of touching it? It has to be kind of close to it. So in other words, you can't stick this in here and put your tweezers over here and expect it to happen, right? So let me take it out and just take a look. You see how now it looks all nice and coppery? It looks fantastic. I'm going to flip it to the other side. But you see what I mean? Looks good. So just remember, once you're like, yes, I like it, take it and dip it in the water. Because if you leave it submerged in the pickle, guess what your pickle will do? It will strip off the copper that you just applied. So keep that in mind. You know what I mean? You got to take it out, rinse it in the water, and then we'll go on and we'll shape and we'll do everything. And then at the very end, I guess this will have a stone in it, so this one won't get sprayed. But so just remember, this whole spray here, it's made for artworks with metal on them or whatever. It's just like a clear lacquer. It works really well. And it's really handy for stuff like this in copper because I have never yet found any copper solder that flows worth a fucking damn. So this is our solution to that. And see